Good morning. Let's begin. Beautiful daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Lamed Beis. We're picking up from the beginning of the new parak on Lamed Aleph Amud Beis on the bottom by the Mishnah. Brand new parak today. Baruch Hashem. Brand new week. Brand new parak. Brand new opportunities. Who knows? Who knows how the journey is going to go? Emir Tashem Yeshkach Rabbi Yehuda for giving the shir yesterday. Thank you to our Talmud Torah sponsors for the month of Cheshvan, Adam and Yudit Ben Zev, for dedicating all of the shiurim and drashos of this month. Le'ilui Nishmas, Adam's grandfather, Moshe David Ben Shalom, in honor of his grandmother Helen Nachman, his parents Eli and Judy Ben Zev, for serving as incredible role models. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu grant them arichos yamim v'shanim. And I will say, with that, let us begin. Says the Mishnah, bottom of Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. Benos Kusim Nidos me arisasam. I will say, so the daughters of Kusim are considered to be nidos from the cradle. So remember again, we've spoken about the Kusim many times throughout our journeys in Shas. So remember again, the Kusim were brought ultimately again to Eretz Yisrael by Shalmaneser. Remember again, already back to Sancheriv, the strategy was conquer lands, uproot indigenous nations, and transplant other nations to the conquered lands. This way, Sancheriv felt already, Shalmaneser continued, that when people are not on their home turf, when they're not on familiar soil, they are less likely to revolt. So one of the nations that was resettled in Eretz Yisrael were the Kusim from the land of Kusa. Good. So the Kusim came. Kusim were an idolatrous nation. They're worshipping idolatries. There's an outbreak of lions in Eretz Yisrael where they're living towards the north, in the north in the Shomron of Eretz Yisrael. So again, no lions normally in those areas. They take it as a sign of the displeasure of God. They convert. The problem is they were subsequently found to still be worshipping idolatry. So as such, the status of the Kusim is always in question. So in general, the Kusim, in terms of their religious practices, generally they believed in Torah Shebichsav, not in Torah Shebal Peh. That's number one. But there's an interesting concept by the Kusim, which is any mitzvah that they keep, right? Generally it's assumed that what? They keep it better than the Jewish people. In other words, whatever they do, there's a musar in this, right? No one could do everything. Whatever they do, they mamish are mitsuyanim. They're excellent. So because of this, the Kusim, their status is always in doubt. So how to figure out who they are, what they are, is always subject to this. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says over here, that the daughters of Kusim the great Kusim females are given a Niddah status already from infancy, already from the cradle, which we'll say we're going to see, technically speaking, even means, from birth. So we'll discuss exactly what that means. Vakusim and Tamim Mishkav Tachton Kelyom. We'll say furthermore again, Kusim themselves, sounds like you're talking about all Kusim, convey Tumas Mishkav, right? Mishkav means the Tumah. We'll say this seems to be generally the type of Tumah that a Zav has, right? That when you sit on something or you support your weight against something, it goes ahead and conveys the Tumah to everything underneath you. So literally translated it means, Vakusim and Mishkav Tachton Ke'elyon. They go ahead and they convey Tumah to that which is below them, the way they convey Tumah to that which is above them. So we'll discuss, actually, that's going to be tomorrow's daf, what the meaning of that statement is. Why? Why do the Kusim have this type of Tumah? Because we'll say ultimately again, because Kusi men are always considered to be in a state of having contracted Tumas Niddah. Remember again, if a man goes ahead and has relations with a woman who's in Niddah, so some form of that tumah is imparted to him. We'll discuss exactly the halachos of that. So we'll say, all of these halachos are connected to each other. So because benos kusim are always considered ultimately again to be in a state of niddah, and therefore again kusi men have relations with kusi women, therefore again kusi men have a status of tumah because they've had relations with nidos. Now why is it that kusi women are always considered to be in a state of niddah? Listen to this. V'hen yoshvos al kol dam v'dam. So we'll say this is an incredible insight. An incredible insight over here is that apparently Kusi women were exceptionally stringent with the halachos of Niddah. So stringent that they would observe the halachos of Niddah for any type of discharge. So we'll say, but here's the interesting part. This is a chumrah that yields to an incredible kula. How so? Take a look at Rashi. Then Yoshos akol dam v'dam kilomar lahachi avibali nidos. the men, the kusi men, are considered to be baalei nidos. Why is that? Mishum de kol dam shiros bein adam bein yarok. So we'll say because the kusi women, whatever discharge they had, red, yellow, whatever it was, yoshvos alav yemei nidos. So we'll say, you say to yourself, wow, like what a chumrah, what a chumrah. So here's the problem. Vizu takalihi lahem. We'll say, in fact, this leads to an incredible stumbling block. How so? Shimro adam yarok hayom mit litchilas limnos shisha. So we'll say, here's the issue. Let's say a kusi woman has a yellow discharge. So remember again, a yellow discharge in halacha is not niddah, but she's observing it, she's machmir, she makes it into niddah. So we'll say, what's the biblical halacha with niddah? Right? 7 days. So it says 6, meaning it's not counting the day of the discharge. So let's say she goes there and she sees a yellow discharge on Sunday. So obviously Sunday she's going to observe the subsequent 6 days. Here's the problem. Im tira ba'osam yemei nidos dam adom, ein amona, elam yam hari rishona. Va'osa dam yarok tar, umareh shniya yitzui chalimna. So also listen to this. So here the kusti women think they're being very machmir. They're observing hilchos niddah for every single discharge. So what happens? So for argument's sake, she has a yellow discharge on Sunday, right? So what happens? She begins to observe 7 days. Remember again, not Shiva Nekiyim, because Shiva Nekiyim is not a din by Niddah. It's a din by our contemporary Niddah. But Allah Chalamaisa, not a din by biblical Niddah. Shiva Nekiyim is a din by Zava. We'll get into how everything comes together. So we'll say, so the Kusi woman has a yellow discharge on Sunday. So she says, okay, I have to observe Hilchos Niddah. She begins to observe 7 days. What's the problem? On Tuesday, she has a red discharge. So on Tuesday, technically speaking, she had a discharge of Niddah, which means what has to happen? She has to really begin counting again from Tuesday. The problem is she's not counting it on Tuesday, because remember again, the way biblical Niddah works is as follows. A woman becomes a Niddah. She goes and has a discharge of menstrual blood. She has 7 days. She could bleed as much as she wants during those 7 days. Those 7 days do not have to be clean. They don't have to be free of blood. So therefore, again, in the kusis's mind, on Tuesday she has a red discharge. That red discharge is just part of the 7 days, no problem. So when does she end up going to the mikvah? She ends up going to the mikvah 7 days from the time of the yellow discharge. What's the problem? She's still in Niddah. So therefore it turns out that after she goes to the mikvah and she's with her husband is Bo'al in Niddah. So first of all, just in general, I will say, is an incredible insight into how you have to be careful with chumras. Because sometimes taking on chumras and observing chumras without understanding what it is that you're doing could actually sometimes lead to incredible kulos, which is a great irony. See here, the Benos Kusim are machmir. They're machmir on being a niddah on every single discharge. Yet that's what we call a chumrah hamevia lidei kula. So therefore, again, because of that, so kusi men almost themselves have a status of being bol and niddah. Ve'in chayav alein va'albias mikdash. Ve'in chayav alein albias mikdash. So we'll say, if you look at Rashi says over here as follows. What does it mean? Ein chayav aleha. Bless you. Halovish omiskasa ba'osa begadim. So we'll say, so let's say again, you have now clothing that came in contact with a kusis woman. So ultimately, you're going to remember, a niddah can convey tumah to articles of clothing as well. If halacha lemaisa, one were to wear that article of clothing and enter into the Beis Hamikdash, so the Mishnah says, Ein chayavin Allah. You would not be chayiv for bias mikdash bituma. Rashi says over here, Ein chayavin Allah, halovish o miskasa ba'osa megadim, v'nichnas lemikdash pater mikarban, or nag osan begadim. Shel mishka b'truma chulin lo yadinan inidahi ilo. So we'll say, so again, therefore Allah truma, and ultimately again, so if you were to wear an article of clothing that came in contact with the kusis, or for that matter again, the article of clothing were to come in contact with truma, you would not be chayiv for bias mikdash. We would not burn truma. Why? Mipnei shetum asan safek. Because let's remember again, we're talking about safek tumah. Not tumas vadai, but rather safek tumah. So remember again, what the Mishnah has done is conferred a status of tumah upon all kusi women. Apparently, again, even from infancy, conferred a status of tumah upon all kusi men, because we assume that they are boale nidos. But at the end of the day, we will not take definitive action based on this tumah. Why? Because at the end of the day, it is tumas safek. Good. Let's say, so today we're pretty much going to spend the whole morning, the whole shir on the first part of the Mishnah of Tumas or Benos Kusim Nidos Me'arisasan. So says the Gemara, Hechi Dami. So we'll say, what is this case? What is this case of the Kusis who ultimately goes ahead and becomes, who is considered to be a Niddah from the cradle? So the Gemara says, Idika Chazyon. So if we literally see that she's bleeding, or if you have the baby, right, mamish, if the baby is bleeding, afilu didan nami. Then I will say, if you're choshish for nida in an infant because there's blood emerging from the baby, me'osam makom, then why is that just a din in kusis? That should be a din in a Jewish baby as well. V'idaloka chazyon, and if you're not seeing any blood, in other words, if the baby is not emitting any blood, then didao namulo. Then ultimately, again, then why should the benos kusim be subject to a safek nida status? Here we go. Amar Rava, Breid Rav Acha, Barav Huna, Amar Rav Sheshes. What's the case? Bistama. But we'll say in reality over here, the kusi baby in question has not bled. So what are we assuming? We assume a stam benos kusim, a stam kusi girl is a nida. What's the pshat with that? Dechevan deika miuta dechazyon chayshinon. Because also listen to this. Although it is not the norm, because there is a miut who sees blood, girls, right, young girls who see blood, and we'll see apparently even from infancy. Since there's a miut, we're choshesh for the miut. So we'll say, so apparently what the Gemara is saying over here is like this, that since there is a miut of infants that ultimately again see blood, we're choshesh for the miut. But we're not choshesh for the miut by Jewish children, only choshesh for the miut where? By benos kusim. Why that is, we'll see in just a moment. Uman tana dechayish lemiuta. We'll say, who is the tana who is choshesh for me? So we'll say, in other words, in general, we assume that we're not choshesh for the miut, right? So we'll say, remember again, why aren't you choshesh for the miut? Why not? Because you have Rov. Because that's what Rov says, right? Rov says that if the majority is a certain way, then the miut almost ceases to exist. But yet there is an opinion who holds that Choshesh. Who is that opinion about? So Rabbi Meir, top of all days. It's Rabbi Meir. Tishanya. But say, isn't it an incredible feeling, by the way, as we continue, as we wind down our journey through Shas, you see concepts like this with Rabbi Meir, Chayshina Lamiyot. We've seen it so many times throughout Shas. And even if you don't recall it, but when you see it on the daf, you begin to go ahead and remember to say, this is the gadlus. This is the gadlus of Daf Yomi. I might not remember what happened yesterday, right? But at the end, probably yesterday you do remember, right? Yesterday was a pretty memorable daf. And I'll say, but again, how incredible it is that the Yesodistic ideas, when you see them, you begin to remember them. So Rabbi Meir, Desanya, here we go. Katanu Ktana, Lo Cholzen V'Yom Derem Meir. So I'll say, Rabbi Meir says, Katanu Ktana. So I'll say, here's the case. A man dies without children, right? He leaves behind a widow and a brother. His widow is a ketana, and his brother, the surviving brother, is a katan. So what's talacha? Katan u ketana lo cholzen lo miyabim. Katan and ketana can't do chalitza and can't do yibum. Div Rabbi Meir. So Amru lo Rabbi Meir. They said to Rabbi Meir, Yafa amarta shen cholzer. Rabbi Meir, I agree with you that they can't do chalitza. Why? Because when it comes to chalitza, ish kasuv baparsha. Umakshinan ishalish. So I'll say the Torah by Chalitza says, Ve'im lo yachbots ha'ish lakachas efsevimto. Describes Chalitza. So by Chalitza, the Torah goes out of its way to say ish. Ish is an adult. And ultimately, again, we compare the man and the woman in Chalitza, just like the man has to be an ish, a gadol, so too ultimately, again, the wife has to be an isha. Fine. Umatam im miyabmin. But I will say, what's the problem ultimately, again, with Yibum? Let them do Yibum. Right? So we'll say again, there's no reason why they can't do Yibum, because we'll remember again, the threshold for Yibum, we know this, is much less than for, or at least we assume it should be much less than Chalitza. Why? Because let's remember again, what's Yibum? Yibum is a continuation of the original marriage that already took place. That's why all that's necessary is an act of bia. There's no need for additional kiddushin or anything like that. It's a perpetuation of the pre-existing relationship. So chalitza, which is a brand new dynamic halachic entity, you need an ish, but by yibum you shouldn't need an ish. So matam im yabmin. So Rabbi Meir, why can't the katan and katana do yibum? Amar lahem, to which Rabbi Meir says, katan shema yimatze siris. Kitana Shemati Matse Islandness. Right? V'nimtzu pogin be'erva shelo b'makom mitzvah. Rabbi Meir says, what are we concerned about? We're concerned that halacha l'maisa, the boy, right? When he grows up, he may turn out to be a sris, which means incapable of having children. The girl may be an islandess, incapable of having children. And I both say the yibum union is only permitted when it can yield children. If halacha l'maaseh the union does not have the capacity to yield children, that's an erva. That's an erva. So therefore I will say this is Rabbi Meir. Rabbanan zil basaruba. The Rabbanan say, okay, meaning they can't say to Rabbi Meir impossible. It's a concern, but it's not a legitimate concern, right? The Rabbanan say we have to go after the rov, right? Zil basaruba, zil basaruba diktana, v'rov kitanam lav srisim ninhu, zil basaruba diktanas, v'rov kitanas lav islandess ninhu. So we'll say, so ultimately again, the Rabbanan say you have to go after the rov. Go after the rov. Therefore, the rov of boys do not become a Swiss. The rov of girls do not become an islandess. So Rabbi say, so we assume over here that halacha l'maisa, Rabbi Meir's din is not just a din ultimately where? By Yibum. It's a din in general that Rabbi Meir is choshesh lemiuta. So therefore, again, plugging this back, we would assume that our Mishnah reflects the view of Rabbi Meir. And Rabbi Meir says that's what? There is a miut of girls who go ahead and bleed even from infancy. There's a miut. So Rabbi Meir will say, we're going to apply that miut where? To benos kusim. And that miut is going to generate a new halachic reality, that benos kusim are considered to be what? Nidos me'arisasa. Now, why don't we apply that miut to Jewish girls? We'll see in just a little bit. But it's Rabbi Meir. Shiras Rabbi Meir. Rabbanan would say no. Again, even though there's a miut, at the end of the day, be zil basarov, and the rov of babies do not bleed. So it says the Gemara, 1 second. Ema desham say the Rabbi Meir miuta deshchiach. I'll say, so the Gemara says like this, even Rabbi Meir, who's choshesh for the miut, I'll say, it's not just any miut, it has to be what's called a miut deshchiach, or otherwise stated, a miut hamatsui. So we'll say, we've seen this actually back in our chulin days. There are different types of miut in halacha. There is a miut hamatsui, which means a miut, and others will say it is an infrequent possibility, right? It's what's the better word for miut? What does it say in article? I'm getting all these blank stares, right? What's the word that's used for miut? Minority. Okay, minority, right? So we'll say there's a minority occurrence that is frequent, or I should say there's a minority occurrence that is infrequent, and a minority occurrence that is infrequent but more frequent. I'll have to think about the formulations in just a bit. As I will say, you understand this intuitively. In other words, you could have something rare. Good. So maybe we'll use the lashonos of infrequent versus rare. So there's a miut that's infrequent and there's a miut that's rare. So the Gemara will say, so we're assuming over here that Rabbi Meir holds that you're choshesh the miut, whatever the miut is. To which the Gemara says, no, maybe not. Maybe Rabbi Meir is only choshesh for a miut that's infrequent, but not a miut that's rare, right? Something that is something that is so uncommon, so rare. Even Rabbi Meir would Even Rabbi Meir would not be choshesh for that. Say Imar desham say Rabbi Meir miuta deshchiach. So we'll say Rabbi Meir holds he's only choshesh for a miut that's infrequent, but still occurs. Ava miuta delo shchiach, but a miut that's rare. Misham mislay. Would Rabbi Meir actually hold this? So both say. So now what we're saying over here is like this. This notion that a baby is going to bleed me'oso makom, and I'll say is so rare that would be ultimately a miut she'ino matsui, or a miut she'ino shchiach. Maybe even Rabbi Meir would agree that for that you're not choshesh, in which case we're then back to square one, trying to figure out who does the Mishnah reflect. To which the Gemara says, no, that's not, first of all, the Gemara is going to challenge that assertion. Hainami miuta deshchiachu. So we'll say, so the Gemara suggests over here that the notion of a baby bleeding, me'osa makom, is a miut deshchiach. It's a miut deshchiach, which means they both say it is infrequent, but not rare. It happens. So Gemara says, listen to this. The Sanya, we learn in the Brayso. I'm Rabbi Yossi. So we'll say, so it's very interesting how the Gemara makes this a miut deshchiach. Maise be'ein bul. There was a story in Ein Bul where what happened? Ein Bul is a place. Vit bilua kodem li'ima. So let's listen to this. There was a mice in Ein Bul where they went ahead and they immersed the baby, right, in a mikvah before the mother. They're both saying, now what does this mean? Look at Rashi. Kodem li'ima, yoledes nekeva tovelas liyudalit, ubita rasa liyom o liyomayim shenolda vitbilua kodem liima mishum maga truma. Supposed to listen to this wild case. There was a story in Ein Bull where a mother gave birth to a baby girl. What happened? The girl, the baby, either at a day or two, bled. So what happened? So it says, the halach is that a woman, after she gives birth to a girl, the earliest she can get to the mikveh is how long? 14 days after her birth. So it says, so the Gemara says, quoting a brisa, that they took the baby to the mikveh before the mother. Because remember, the baby goes after 7 days. They got the baby to the mikveh before the mother. So we'll say, so why is the Gemara quoting this? Why is the Gemara quoting this? What does this do for us? It shows us that what? It happened. Now what's interesting is as follows. Okay, shkoyach, right? You brought me one story. We're going to see it's more than one story. I'll tell you what's also interesting about this. I don't know the technical term, but where this comes up? This comes up sometimes, again, in gerus. If you have to do a gerus of a katan. So it's interesting. Michael's not here right now. I'll have to ask him about this. So as I said, I don't know the name of the reflex, but there's a reflex we have that when we go into water, we close our eyes and close our mouth. That reflex in a baby doesn't actually set in until some amount of time after birth, which is why when we do conversions for ketanim, we actually wait. We wait a little bit. You don't do, let's say a couple adopts a newborn baby or a couple converts with a newborn baby. We generally don't do the gerus immediately. You have to wait a little bit. So it's actually fascinating here that they're doing the immersion mamish right after the birth of the baby. Okay, in any event, side point. Rabbi said, there was another episode, and I will say now, I just want to point out, why are they immersing the baby in this case? Why are they immersing the baby over here in Beis Bul? Be'ein Bul? Because I'll say the concern is that if the baby becomes a Niddah, and the baby comes in contact with Truma, so ultimately, again, the baby will make the Truma Tameya. So therefore, again, in order to ensure, that's just important to keep in mind that this is about Truma over here. Another story. Rebbe said there was another episode in Beis Sharim. Same case, I will say. Woman gave birth to a girl. Ultimately, again, the baby became a Niddah, and we immersed the baby before the mother. So we'll say 2 episodes where this happened. And again, also because of Truma. We're not finished. Rabbi Yosef, there was another story, lest you think that this is an Eretz Yisrael thing. Right, so ultimately, again, Pumpadisa happened as well. Vitbilua kodem li'ima. Ultimately, again, and they immersed the baby even before the mother was able to get to the mikvah. So we'll say, so the point over here of this price is what? 3 episodes. So the point that you're seeing over here is that this is a miut de shchiach. Again, I will say, to be clear, it is still a miut, right? It is still an infrequent occurrence, right? It's a minority occurrence, but lamaisa, it may be infrequent, but it is not rare. It occurs. Therefore, again, Abosai, you could say that even according, just to follow this, even if you want to say that Rabbi Meir, who's choshesh lemiuta, is only choshesh for what type of miut? What type of miut? A miut de shchiach or a miut de matzui, will agree that this type of case of the infant becoming a niddah still passes the threshold of a miut shchiach or a miut matzoi. This is incredible. It's always this beautiful about Gemara, right? You bring up a case for one purpose, and then suddenly the Gemara says, "I don't understand what's happening in this case." I was say, "Why are we immersing this baby?" Right? Why are we immersing this baby? The baby became a quote unquote a niddah. Why? So who cares? Why are we immersing the baby? Why? Truma. Someone says, 1 second. Bishlam Rabbi Yossi udrei mishum trumas Eretz Yisrael. Both say the first 2 cases of Ein Bul and Beis Sha'arim are Eretz Yisrael. So I understand that Eretz Yisrael you have Truma Daraisa. So now I understand ultimately again why you're immersing that baby. Elad Rav Yosef Lamali. But Rav Yosef's case is where? Pumpadisa. Pumpadisa's Bavel. What's going on with Truma and Bavel? To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel, in Trumas Chutz La'aretz Asura. I'm sorry. So Gemara says, right, why don't you Rabbi Yossi's case? So the Gemara says, V'hamar Shmuel says, Ein Trumas Chutz La'aretz Asura Ela B'misha Tuma Yotze Migufo. Shmuel said that when it comes to Trumas Eretz Yisrael, when it comes to Trumas Chutz La'aretz, right, Trumas Chutz La'aretz is only what? Is only problematic. Ela B'misha Tuma Yotze Migufo. Only above, if you have the type of Tuma, Where the tumah, so let's remember again, there's two different ways to become tameh. You could become tameh through contact with something external to you, or you could become tameh through some type of internal process. So Niddah, Zava, Balkari. So it comes on Shmuel. Shmuel says the only problem with contact with Shumas Chutz La'aretz is only if someone becomes tameh from a tumah hayotze migufo v'hani mili ba'achila. And even then, Rabbi say the problem is only with what? With consumption. Aval b'negia lo. But at the end of the day, not with negia. So we'll say, let's analyze this in just a moment. So understand what Shmuel just said. Right? When it comes to Trumas Chutz La'aretz, right? Trumas Chutz La'aretz. Again, we know that there were times, because of proximity to Eretz Yisrael, ultimately against surrounding lands did separate out Trumas and Maisros. Those Trumas and Maisros, Shmuel says, only become Tameh through contact with someone who themselves is Tameh, only if it's the type of Tumah that emanates from the body, which would seem to cover our case over here. But the problem is only got Legabe what? Achila. Consumption. So we'll say, so let's analyze this. In Pumpadisa, you have this infant girl who, quote unquote, became Tameh, Tumas Niddah. The only impact she could possibly have on Shumas Chutz La'aretz is what? Is if she eats it. And she's not eating anything at 1, 2, 3 day, 4, however many days old, right? The only way she could possibly impact the truma is how? So through negia, through contact, and contact does not seem to pose any kind of problem. To which the Gemara says, Amar Mar Zutra, lo nitzchacha ela l'socha shemen shel truma. What was the case over here? The case over here is they wanted to smear the baby with oil of truma. And in order for the baby to be smeared with oil of truma, she had to be tahora. So says the Gemara Nabose. So now what we're saying over here is something very interesting. That apparently anointing the baby, right, has a status almost of like achila. To which you ask, where do we know that from? Look at Rashi. L'socha shemen shel truma, the sicha ke'achila. Because ultimately, again, anointing is like consumption. Uba'achila kaminon the trumas chutz la'aretz azrulini. This. We'll say, so follow the progression over here. What we're saying is like this. In reality, when it comes to trumas chutz la'aretz, the only type of tamei person ultimately who has a problem with that trumas who tuma hayotze migufo or gufa, right? But aloch lamaisa, another type of truma is not going to be problematic. Okay, but even so, the problem is only legabe what? Legabe achila. So what's the issue over here with the infant? The infant's not eating any of the truma because they want to anoint the infant with oil, and apparently sicha ki achila. Anointing is like consumption. Where do we know that from? Desanya. Here we go. V'lo yechalu Hashem kodshi. So we'll say the pasuk where the Gemara quotes, "V'lo yichalalu as shem kodsh, v'lo yichalu as kodshe b'nei Yisrael, as sheyarimu laHashem." You shall not go ahead and defile any of the kodesh. Rashi says over here, "V'lo yichalu beparshas as haras temeim b'truma ksiv." So we'll say, so the context of the pasuk over here is tamei people coming in contact with truma. So watch this. Asher yarimu laHashem, the rabbos es hasach ve'es hashoseh. This comes to include one who anoints themselves with truma oil in a state of tumah, and one who drinks truma in a state of tumah as well. So the Gemara says, Shosa, lam likra. We'll say, why would I need an extra pasuk by drinking? Shtia bichlal achila. We'll say, under normal circumstances, shtia ultimately again is the same context as achila. Ela l'rabos es hasach kishoseh. So the pasuk is coming to teach me that one who goes ahead and anoints themselves with oil, that's the equivalent of what? Of drinking. And drinking is the equivalent of eating. So from here, Rabbi said that ultimately, again, whatever halachos apply to truma consumption will apply to anointing with truma oil as well. The other possibility is, mehacha, vatavo kamayim bikirbo, ukeshemen ba'atz mosav. So we'll say we're quoting the pasuk from Tehillim. The Lord is actually talking about, this is vayilbash klalav madu. Darmel's talking about the punishment of the Rishayim. That ultimately, again, it will come like water in his insides, ukeshem ba'atz mosav, and like oil on his bones. But for our purposes, what we're doing over here in this pasuk is equating the anointing of oil with the drinking of water. So you see from here that what? That anointing with oil is the equivalent of consumption. So we'll say, so now what do you see? So let's analyze over here what we just have. So we just have over here, we're going to work backwards. So now what we see is that halacha l'maisa, they would go ahead and be tovel, right, a baby who became a Niddah, both in Eretz Yisrael as well as in Chutz La'aretz. In Eretz Yisrael, because of Truma, and both say in Eretz Yisrael, understand why because of Truma. What's the issue? What's the issue of Truma in Eretz Yisrael? Even what? Even Maga, right? Even touching. So that I understand that we have to be matar the baby. What about why do you need to be matar the baby ultimately again for Trumas Chutz La'aretz? Because we'll say there the issue is because Trumas Chutz La'aretz is only problematic if what? If you eat it in a state of tumah, and even that it's only a tumah yotze migufa, because in Chutz La'aretz they'd want to anoint the baby with truma oil. And what do we just successfully prove? That what? That sicha is kishtia, and shtia is ke'achila. And therefore, halacha lemaisa, even in Pumpadisa, they would have to immerse the baby who became a Niddah in order to anoint her ultimately again with truma oil. So we'll say, to which the Gemara says, so we'll say, so now, and kind of let's link it back. So therefore, again, what do you see? Even though it is a miyut of babies who become a Niddah, it's what kind of miyut? What kind of miyut? A miyut shchiach, right? Or a miyut hamatzui. And therefore, again, who's choshesh for a miyut hamatzui? Rabbi Meir. And therefore, whose opinion is reflected in the Mishnah? Rabbi Meir. To which the Gemara says, great argument. But it's so compelling that what? Ihachi didan nami. So again, I will say, based on everything you said, I don't understand why this chashash is only applied to who? To benos kusim. This should be applied to Jewish girls, to Jewish babies as well. Look at Rashi. Ihachi decheshina lemiuta. Right? If you've successfully proven that what? That halacha lemaisa. That we're choshesh for miyut, right? And it's a miyut shchiach or a miyut hamatzui. Therefore, says the Gemara, Rashi, didanami litamu kulan erasasan. You've made this, by the way, this is a sign of a very compelling argument. Your argument is so compelling that halacha lemaisa should apply to Jewish girls as well. To which the Gemara says, here's the difference. Anon didarshinan isha v'isha v'chichazyan mafreshilahu lo gazru b'hu rabbanas. Well, so let's analyze this. Right, so ultimately again, so we darshan isha v'isha. We're going to see what that drasha is in just a moment. So we darshan isha, and therefore v'chichazyon, when a girl actually sees what mafreshilahu, we go ahead and we separate her. We make sure that she does not come in contact with kadshim. So lo gazru b'hu rabbanan. The Rabbanon were not gozer. So we'll say what this sounds like the Gemara is saying, although we're going to clarify the Josh in just a moment. We recognize the fact that a girl, even a baby, could become a Niddah. But because we are vigilant in the halachos of Niddah, what will we do with such a baby like that? We'll make sure that we separate them from coming in contact with any type of kadshim. However, inhu, the lo darshi isha v'isha, the kusim who don't darshin isha v'isha, we don't know what that drush is yet. We'll see in just a moment. And therefore, again, when a young girl does see blood, the kusim will not separate her. Gazru b'hu rabbanon. The rabbanon were gozer. So we'll say what this sounds like is happening over here is as follows. There's two parts to this argument. Number one, there's a drush of isha. We'll see what that is in just a moment. And as a result of that drush of isha, we're careful. If indeed we see a baby who becomes a niddah, we will be careful to make sure that that baby doesn't come in contact with kadshim. Therefore, there is no need for example. We'll say, remember again, when do chazal make gezeros? See, some people think rabbis just like to make gezeros, right? But in fact, again, when do chazal make gezeros? When they have to create a safeguard. They only do it when it's necessary to create a protective fence. If the people are vigilant on their own, there's no need for the gzeira. So therefore, again, when it comes to Jews who will be vigilant on their own, there's no need for the gzeira. For the kusim, ultimately, again, the gzeira is necessary. I'm both saying now the truth is, the gzeira is not as much for the kusim, right? Because again, the kusim could care less about the gzeira. The gzeira is for who? The gzeira is for us, right? The gzeira is for us in terms of forging and forming our interaction with the kusim. To which the Gemara says, "My isha v'isha." What's the drasha you're referencing over here? Here we go. Desanya. Both side the pasuk says, "Isha, ein li ella isha." So also when the pasuk says isha, I only know isha. So I'll say, so what are we talking about over here? So if you take a look, so the Gemara says, Desanya isha ein li ella isha. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says over here, Isha kisiya zava. Benida mishtaikra dichsev shivasam tinei benidasa. So we'll say when the pasuk speaks about a nida, so the Torah uses the lashon of isha. Ainly ela isha. So I only know that in isha, right? So we'll say, remember, the pasuk by nida speaks about an isha. Isha we automatically assume means what? An adult, or some older, some certainly not a newborn, right? Amy Ela Isha Tinokes Basyom Echad the Niddah Minai. And Rabbi say from where to Rabbi say this is a very important drasha because we're going to see we accept this halacha lemaisa. So Tinokes Basyom Echad the Niddah Minai. How do I know that even a girl 1 day old can become a niddah? Talmud Lomar V'isha. Rabbi say it's the riboy of the vav. Right, the v'isha, that vav hariboy, that vav is bala hosif, right, comes to include something else. Who else does it come to include? So isha would just tell me ultimately again a woman. V'isha comes to include someone else. Who else does it come to include? Afilu, the Gemara says, v'isha ama, so v'isha ama kimar bikra bas yom echad marbi. Therefore, both say the vav, which is an extra vav, ultimately does what? Tells me that it includes even tinokes bas yom echad, ultimately again in the halachos of niddah. So the Gemara says, or minhu, I'm going to raise a kasha, isha, ein li ella isha. So when the pasuk says isha, I only know isha, tinokes bas gimel shanim v'yom echad lebia minayin. So here's what's interesting. The Gemara says as follows. So the pasuk when it talks about, if you look at Rashi, Libya, Rashi says, first of all, Urminhi Isha, the Isha Yishkav Ish Osa Shichvas Zera. So we'll say, so the Torah talks about over here that halach l'maisa, both a man and woman become tamei as a result of bia. Then I both say, now Rashi points out something fascinating over here. Look at Rashi, Libya, Shemitama bebias Adam. So we know that a woman becomes tamei as a result of bia. Now, why is that? Migzeres hakosov. Then I both say that tuma is gzeres hakosov. Because also you'd be tempted to say, why does she become tamei? Or she becomes tameya ultimately because of the shichvah, because of the semen. Right? Remember again, a man becomes tamei as a result of becoming a balkere. So bepashtos, the woman comes in contact with the zera as well. Therefore, she's tameya. That's not the reason. Look at Rashi; it's actually incredible. It has nothing to do with contact with shichvah zera. Why not? Sharei maga beis hastorimhu. The boss say this is incredible because the woman comes in contact with the shichvah zera where? Internally. Internal contact does not generate tumah. So why is it that a woman becomes tamei as a result ultimately again of bia? It's gzeras hakosov. Because the pasuk says so. Because the pasuk tells us ultimately again the isha shar yishkav ish osa shichvas zera. So we'll say after an act of bia, woman becomes tamei. Again, a very low level of tumah. Right, very low level of tumah, just tumah sarah. If she goes to the mikvah, she's Torah the next night, but lamais or that night. But lamais again, this tumah. So we'll say, so now watch this. The Torah tells me. So what does it say? Who's subject to what we'll call tumas bia? Who's subject to this? An isha. What's the definition of an isha? Amy ela isha tinokes bas giboshan v'yom echad lebia minayin. We'll say, how do I know that even a girl who's 3 years old in 1 day is at least in the eyes of the gzeres hakosov of roi lebia? Talmud lomar v'isha. Because again, I will say the same vav, different pasuk, but vav comes to include an addition. Who does it come to include? A girl who is 3 years old in 1 day. So we'll say, now you see we have a very big problem, right? What's our very big problem? You just told me before that v'isha comes to include what? Comes to include even of tinokes bas yom echad, even a 1 day old girl in the halachos of niddah. Now you're telling me that it comes to halachos of bia, v'isha comes to include what? A girl who's 3 years old and 1 day. So we'll say it's the same. It's two different psukim with the same drasha. So we'll say what you're telling me is whenever you see the vav in front of isha, it comes to include the most wide swath of woman. So we'll say, so which one is it? Does v'isha mean a girl even 1 day old, or does v'isha only mean a girl 3 years old and 1 day? They will say, now granted, it's two different halachas, but lamaisa the drasha is the same. I would assume that the drasha always yields the same result. To which the Gemara says, Amarava hilchasaninu v'as mechinan v'rabanan. Akroi. What was that? Which Rava says it's halacha l'Moshe Misinai. It's halacha l'Moshe Misinai, and Chazal went ahead and as we often see, Chazal take halacha l'Moshe Misinai, and they find a pasuk that kind of makes a remez to it. So it's not a real drush. It's halacha l'Moshe Misinai. To which I will say, so the Gemara assumes that what Rav is answering is one of them. Right? One of these two drushes is in fact halacha l'Moshe Sinai, and the other one is what? Is a drush of Moses. So we'll say, see, here, just to tell you what I have two facts in front of me. What are the facts? Fact number one is, as of what age could a girl become a Niddah? 1 day. The pasuk says Isha. What do we darshan that from? The Isha. That's fact number one. Fact number two is, a woman goes ahead and becomes Tameh as a result of Bia. At what age does that Tumah become a reality? 3 years old and 1 day. From where do I know that from? The Isha. Rava says no. In fact, halacha l'maisa, it's a halacha l'Moshe Sinai, and it's an asmachta. The pasuk is just a scriptural allusion. So we'll say we're assuming right now that Rava means one of them is halacha l'Moshe Sinai, one of them is a pasuk. To which the Gemara says, "Heikra the heichasa." Which one is the pasuk? And which one is the halacha l'Moshe Sinai? Ilim abas yom echad hilchasa. If you want to say that ultimately again, that a girl could become a Niddah 1 day, that's the halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Bas shalosh shana yom echad kra, and ultimately again that a girl could contract tumas bia at 3 years old in 1 day. That's the pasuk. Tell you why it doesn't work. Kra stomach siv. See, I will say V'isha is a very generic drasha, and there's no reason to assume that ultimately again it should refer to one over the other. Ella bas gimel shana yom echad hilchasa, bas yom echad kra. Rather, I will say what you have to say is that halacha l'maisa, the notion that a girl could go ahead and become tamei as a result of bia at the age of 3 years old in 1 day, that's a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That a girl could become a Niddah from 1 day, that's from the pasuk of V'isha. To which the Gemara says, Ume'achar tehilchasa. So I don't understand, at the end of the day, now that you're going to tell me that a girl at 3 years old and 1 day, ultimately what? Could go ahead and become tamei al tumas bia, then what? Kra lamali. Why do I need a pasuk at all? Or why do you even need an asmachta? Why do you even need a pasuk? To which the Gemara says, because the pasuk comes to teach me something else. Limeute amud beis. Limeute ish meudam. To teach you now what Rabbi said, this is fascinating. So apparently now the pasuk of V'isha, the extra vav, comes to teach me something actually different, which is that what? That a man who has a red emission ultimately again will be tahora. So I'll say this is actually quite wild, because what we're learning now from this extra pasuk is something totally unrelated. We're going to discuss how you make this jump. But lamaisa again, that if a man has a red emission, that halacha lamaisa he does not become tamei. Look at Rashi. Lemeute ish meudam va'af agav dikra lav beudam mayri al korch ekevin dikra yisei rasul lidrasha asa umay yeshcha lidrosh davra karov le'inyin darash ba v'achi kamar isha tamei b'davra amar ba tainu odem ve'in ish tamei b'davra amar bi'isha. So we'll say the teaching that what? That although a woman could become tamei, ultimately again with a red emission, a man cannot. So if a man has some type of red emission, that does not make him tamei at all. V'hadesanya isha ainli eli isha bas yod yamim lezayin. Ainli eli isha bas yod yamim leziva minayin. So we'll say, interestingly enough, but there's another drasha, right? Rashi says v'hadesanya isha le'inyan zava ksiv v'isha ki yazuv zov damas. Well, so watch this. So now a new drasha. What's the new drasha? We'll say that halacha l'maisa, the pasuk when it comes to zava uses lashon of isha. So again, we normally assume what does isha refer to? An adult woman. How do I know? Both say this is incredible. How do I know? Bas yud yamim leziva. So we'll say ultimately again, how do I know that halacha l'maisa, a young girl could even become a zava at the age of 10 days? So we'll say, how do you get 10 days? Look at Rashi for just a moment. Bas yud yamim debetzir mehachi leka ziva zanya yemei nida the gimel yemei ziva shein ziva ela achar nidus. So we'll say this is wild. The youngest age that a girl could become a zava is 10 days old. Why 10? Because we'll say, listen to this. The concept of ziva, so we're going to see all of these concepts in this parak. The concept of ziva, someone could only become a zava after she becomes a nida. So we'll say, so just on a very simple level, the way that zivus works is like this. It's a 7-11 schedule. In other words, for 7 days she becomes a nida. After those 7 days, there's an 11-day period. Any bleeding that occurs during those 11 days is considered to be zava. We'll see the construct. So we'll say, listen to this. If a girl is born Any blood that she has the first 7 days, we assume is what? Is Niddah. Therefore, I will say that really the earliest time she can become a Zava Gidola is when? 10 days after her birth. The first 7 days would be Niddah if she were to bleed. And then remember, to become a Zava Gidola, what do you need? 3 days, right? 3 consecutive days of bleeding. So therefore, again, the youngest age that a girl could become a Zava Gidola would be 10 days of age. So we'll say, here's the Gemara saying, Pasuk says by Zava, Isha. How do I know that even a girl at 10 days old could become a Zava? Talmud Lomar, Isha. Same drasha. Isha, the Vav comes to be Mosif, an additional case of even 10 days old. I lamali. So says the Gemara, but why don't I need the drasha? Ligma minida. I will say, why don't I just say the same way that a 1-day-old girl could become a Niddah? Therefore, what? A 10-day-old girl, because we also remember again, a 10-day-old girl by Zava is the equivalent to what? A 1-day-old girl by Niddah. So in other words, once you're telling me that a girl could become a Niddah from birth, that's effectively the same thing as telling me that a girl could become a Zava as of 10 days old. So in other words, why do you need a separate drasha? Just say the same way that a girl could become Niddah at birth, so that she become a Zava at 10 days. Tzricha, I'll tell you why you need that, but you cannot learn one out from the other. Here's why. Tikasav Rachmana benida. Because the Torah would have just taught me this halacha by Niddah, that a girl could become a Niddah from birth. Hava amina Niddah mishum. Tikichazoi chad yoma. Bailam of Zion. So we'll say Niddah is different, right? Why is Niddah different? Because we'll say one discharge triggers 7 days, right? You don't need any sustained occurrences. One discharge, 7 days. Aval Zava, di chazoi chad yoma, bishomeres yom kineged yom sagila, emolo. We'll say Zava is different, right? Because by Zava, remember again, what happens if she has one emission? One emission only triggers what? 1 day. Remember, if a woman has one Zava emission, she goes to the mikveh that day, and that night, or I should say the next day, not that day, but she has the Riyah, then the next day she observes B'tara, goes to the mikveh, and the following night she's fine. So because Zava is so dramatically different from Niddah, I couldn't have learned them out from the other. I v'lichtov rachmana b'Zava v'lo bay b'Niddah v'ani yedana de'in Zava below Niddah. So we'll say, so do the reverse. Let the Torah tell me that's what? That the concept of Zava applies to who? To a 10-day-old girl. And if you tell me that, then what? I'll automatically know that Niddah applies to a 1-day-old girl. Einachinami. To which the Gemara says, you're right. That could have actually been a drasha. Ve'alakra lamali. So I'll say, so I need the pasuk. Same thing as we said before. Leme'ute ish mi'udam. I will say to teach us that what? To exclude the case of a man who has a red emission. That does not convey tumah. To which the Gemara says, V'hami atasei chadazimna. We already did that, right? We already excluded that man before from a different drasha. Chad lemi'ute mishechva zara, v'chad lemi'ute midam. I will say one is to exclude him ultimately again from shechvas zera, and one ultimately again is to exclude him from dam. That I will say both. So if a man has a red emission, there's no tumah. We don't consider it to be red shechvas zera, and even if it's dam, an emission of dam from a man does not generate tumah. So we'll say, so just to understand what we have up until this point is something very dramatic. What we have is that halacha l'maisa, right? A girl could become a Niddah as of when? As of 1 day old. And it sounds like she could become technically a Zava as of when? As of 10 days old, right? 10 days old, and I will say these both seem to be what? These both ultimately, again, seem to be, well, these are the drashos or halachas l'moshe Messiah. One other halacha, which is, when does a girl contract, so to speak, tumas bia? 3 years old and 1 day. So we'll say, so here's our progression. 1 day old, she's subject to Niddah. 10 days old, she is subject to Zava. 3 years old and 1 day, technically subject to tumas bia. Those are our halachas so far. And the Gemara says the same halachas as we see by Nekevus also apply to Scharim. This Sanya, because we learned ish. We'll say the pasuk says ish. Now what's the pasuk over here? Dabro b'nei Yisrael v'amartu lahem ish ki zav mibsaro zavot tamir. We'll say zav. By a zav. Pasuk says ish. So ma tamal ish. The rabbis tinok ben yom echad shumutami beziva di Rabbi Yehuda. So we'll say ultimately what does Rabbi Yehuda say? That even a boy who's 1 day old has the ability to go ahead and become a zav at the age of 1 day. Di Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shmuel ben Rosh Rabbi Yochanan ben Roka Omer, ain't tzarich. The truth is, you don't even need this trash. I'll tell you why. Hariyu Omer l'zachar u'lenekeva. So we'll say because the pasuk says l'zachar u'lenekeva. The pasuk over here is v'hadava b'nidasa v'azav es zovo l'zachar u'lenekeva. L'zachar koshu zachar bein shu gadol bein shu katan u'lenekeva kolshi nekeva bein bigidola bein bikitana. So we'll say, so you see over here that ultimately again the Torah links the zachar and nekeva to teach me again zachar. So we'll say here, remember zachar, by the way, is a much more generic term than ish, right? Because ish we normally assume means what? An adult. Zachar means what? A male. Now the truth is there are situations where we consider zachar ultimately again to mean adult male as well, but it's generic enough to say any age. Zachar kolshu, right? Nekeva kolshu. Im kain matam lamer ish ish. Suppose say if that's the case, why don't you need the drush of ish ish to tell me that ultimately again even a boy one day old could become a zav? You're right. Dibur Torah kolosha menei adam. Ultimately, again, I will say ish ish is not meant for a drasha. Rather, what does ish ish do? Ish ish is just the normal vernacular. That's just how the Torah speaks. Alma. Ki marbi kra ben yom echad marbi. Therefore, what do you see when I will say when the Torah comes to include someone, the zachar, right? Zachar, right? The drasha was the zachar koshu, zachar ben shu gadol ben shu katan, comes to include everyone, even a one-day-old boy that he can become a zav or minhu. I'll ask a shayla, ish einli ella ish. So we'll say ultimately again. So we're going to go at Rashi says over ish einli ella ish. The ish ki seitzenu shichvas zera. So we'll say the Torah is talking about over here. This passage the Gemara is quoting is talking over here about if a man becomes tamei as a result of a seminal emission. So the pasuk says ish einli ella ish. I only know that a man who has about an adult man who has a seminal emission that he becomes tamei al tzabal keri. Ben teisha shanim v'yom echa minayin. How do I know that even a boy at the age of 9 years old in one day is capable of having a seminal emission that would make him tamei? Talmud lomar v'ish. Therefore, both say the pasuk says v'ish. The vav comes to include 9 years old and 1 day. 1 second. You just told me that what? That zachar and v'ish comes to include what? Afilu tinok ben yom echad. So what's happening over here? Amarava hilchasaninu va'asmechinhu rabbanan akroi. We will say to which the Gemara says. It is a halacha l'Moshe Misinai, and ultimately again the Rabbanon went ahead and kind of found an asmachta. So we'll say what we have over here is as follows. Just understand what we just did. A boy can become a zav as of when? As of when? 1 day old. He can only become tamei atz alts tumas keri as of what age? 9 years old and 1 day. So we'll say Gemara is assuming right now. One of these halachos is based on a pasuk, and one of them is based on a halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So which one is it? So the Gemara says, Heichasa v'hekra. Which one is a halacha l'Moshe Misinai? Which one is a pasuk? So the Gemara says, Ilema ben yom echad hilchasa. If you want to say ultimately again that a boy can become a zav at 1 day old, that's the halacha l'Moshe Misinai. Uben tes shanim yom echad, and that a boy can become a balkeri. Right? Sheikh Vazer, 9 years old in 1 day. That's a pasuk. Cross stomach sieve. Well, so here's the problem. The pasuk is very nondescript. So Ella ben tes shanim yom echad hilchasa. Rather, you have to say that a boy can become a balkeri at 9 years old in 1 day. That's the halacha l'Moshe Misinai. Uben yom echad kra, and that a boy can become a zav at 1 day. That's the pasuk. I v'chimi achad hilchasai kra lamali. But I will say now that you're telling me that halacha l'maisa, that a boy can become a balkeri at 9 years old in 1 day is halacha l'Moshe Misinai, then why do I need even a scriptural allusion? Why do I need a pasuk? Lemeute isha miloban. But I say this is incredible to exclude the case of a woman who has a white emission. So we'll say if a woman has a white emission, there is no tumah generated by a white emission of a woman. So we'll say this is the reverse of the previous drush. Remember again, previously we used the extra drushes by women to teach me what? That Allah, a man who has a red emission is not tamei. We don't consider it to be red shechvas zera, and even if it's blood, it's not tamei as well. Now we're saying that if a woman has a white emission, she's not tamei as well. It's not niddah and it's not zava. To which the Gemara says, Lama li lemichtav b'scharim, v'lama li lemichtav b'nekevos. We're supposed to just finish the sugya. So I'll say, so look at Rashi just a moment. Lama li lemichtav b'scharim, ish l'rabos katan ben yomo, v'lama li lemichtav b'nekevos v'ish l'rabos bas yom echel nida, u'bas yom. So now watch this. So now what we're saying is like this. So now I have two different drushes. I have one set of drushes that tells me ish and halacha l'moshe misinai. That's ish not halacha l'moshe misinai. Ish that teach me that a boy becomes a zav as of what age? As of what age? 1 day, right? And Isha teaches me that what? That a girl becomes she becomes a Niddah at what age? Or she could become a Niddah at what age? 1 day. At a Zava when? At 10 days. Rabbi will say, but I tell you the same thing, right? It's saying from birth. So now the Gemara says, why do I need parallel drushas for boys and girls? Right, it starts with separate seating, then we need separate drushas, right? So I'll say, sorry, why do I need parallel drushas? Right? So the Gemara is like this. So I'll say, see, technically speaking, well, you could have easily created a merged drasha that essentially says, any tuma migufo begins when? Begins from birth. Now the exception might be shechva zera, because that is a din in physical maturation. Leaving that aside. But in terms of Zav, Niddah, right, Zava, make one drasha that indicates to me that halacha l'maisa, all of these tumas migufo begin from birth. To which one, I'll tell you why you can't. Tzrichi. Because remember, then the idea would be write it by one gender, and you'll learn you'll learn the unstated gender from the stated gender. I'll tell you why you can't, says the Gemara. Because the Torah would have just said it by boys. Because remember again, Zav. We're going to see this, by the way. We've seen this right before. Zav and Zav, I will say, are dramatically different. A man becomes a Zav. How? Zav Gadol. How? Zav Gadol. How? 3 re'iyas. But we'll say, but remember again, halacha l'maisa, he could have those 3 re'iyas when? On the same day. A woman only becomes a Zav Gidola with 3 re'iyos on 3 separate days. So the halachos of Zav, vis-a-vis a man and a woman, right, a zachar and a keva, dramatically different. Aval nekeva slomatam mekiv re'iyos kibiyamim emalo. So I might have thought, if the Torah would have just said it by a zachar, I would have said, okay, a zachar baby at 1 day can become a zav. Why? Because Lamaise, his laws of zivus are more intense. Because ultimately, again, by a zachar, what we say is, mitama re'ios kibiyamim, which Rabbi say, it's totally independent of how many days. The ikar is how many re'ios. A girl's different. A girl requires the days and the re'ios. So I wouldn't learn how to grow from a boy. Emalo, maybe a girl doesn't become a zava from birth. Because of Rachmana ben Nekevus, and if it would have just said by Nekevus, right, by girls that she becomes a zava from birth, mishum tikam etame ba'onis. Oh, Rabbi is very interesting. A girl could become a zava even through onis. We'll say onis means external stimuli, right? If a girl has an emission as a result of something external to her, she could still become a zava. On the flip side of al-zacharim, but I will say a zachar who only becomes a zav, if it can be demonstrated that it was not the result of an external stimulus, I would have thought, cannot be learned out from the keva, therefore tzichat. Rabbi say what it comes out is that halacha l'maisa, they are too separate, they are too distinct to be learned out from one another, therefore the Torah has to quote them both. So Rabbi say, let's just end off with a little bit of halacha. I hope the recording doesn't stop here. Good. So we'll say, 3 halachas. Number 1 is halacha in Isurei Bia, Rabban Perek Dalet halacha Aleph. Hanidahi kishar kol harayos. Let me skip down a little bit. The halacha is Shabbos metame benida afila b'yom leidas. So we'll say number 1, the Rambam paskins, then indeed a girl has the ability to become a nida as of day number 1. So we'll say, by the way, just to close the loop. So remember again, what our Mishnah is saying is like this. We know that a girl could become a nida as of day number 1. Is that the rov? Is that the expectation? No, it's a miyut. But what kind of miyut? A miyut shchiach. Right, a miyut shchiach. So why are we only choshesh for benos kusim and not for Jewish girls? Because we assume that in a Jewish family, if the little girl becomes a nida, they're going to be careful to avoid having her have contact with truma. By the kusim, there's not going to be the same level of vigilance. Therefore, Chazal had to go ahead and make the gzera. That is halacha number 1. Right, what is halacha number 2? Right, Katan ben yom echad mitame beziva. So we'll say ultimately again by the same along the same lines. So if a girl becomes a niddah can become a niddah as of the first day of her birth, she can become a zava as of when? As of when? Day number 10. So she is subject to laws of zivos as of day number 10. Next halacha, Mishkav Moshe, Parak Aleph halacha Dalid. The Rambam writes, Katan ben yom echad mitame beziva. But I say indeed a 1-day-old boy also has the ability to contract tumas zivos. And the last halacha avos hatuma parakei halacha beis ein shichvas zera shal katan mitama ad shehei ben teisha shana b'yom echad. I'll say when it comes to shichvas zera, and we'll discuss this, halacha l'maisa, a boy does not become tummy al shichvas zera until when? 9 years old in 1 day, which means that if he has any types of emissions before 9 years old in 1 day, we attribute that to zav. So we'll say, so again, halacha l'maisa, niddah as of day 1, zava as of day 10, zav for a boy as of day 1, shichvas zera, 9 years old in 1 day. Shach Rabbos, pick up at the 2 dots in Hashem tomorrow.